Sanlam's smooth bonus portfolios provide advisors with a solution that delivers stable returns, valuable guarantees, and integrates responsible investing principles. With the release of the latest corporate smooth bonus responsible investment report, we're joined by Danie Van Zyl, Head, Smooth Bonus Centre of Excellence, and Ashley Daswa, Senior Investment Specialist, to explore how these portfolios balance financial performance with sustainable and ESG values. Welcome, Danie and Ashley, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So I think, Danie, let's set the scene with you. What are the key features of Sanlam Smooth Bonus portfolios that differentiate them from other investment options available to advisors?
Smooth bonus portfolios differ from normal investment portfolios in that the underlying investment return is smooth over time by way of a formula. So the member's value doesn't jump up and go down when there's a market crash. It's more smooth and it's not as volatile as otherwise would be the case. If I can use an analogy to explain it a bit better, we like to think of these portfolios as a four-wheel drive vehicles. And the reason I say that is one can think of saving for retirement as driving on a national road. Normally everything is fine, but every now and then, think a market crash in 2020, 2008, you need to take a detour. Now suddenly you come off the national road, you're going over loose sand and gravel and rocks and all those kind of things. And that's really when a 4x4 vehicle shows its worth. The benefit of that is your back of your vehicle doesn't swerve from one side of the other that gives you heart palpitations. And you can look forward to a much smoother and comfortable ride. Now, the same way, these portfolios smooth investment returns when markets are volatile. So a poor member close to retirement don't need to nervously watch the markets as you're counting down the days towards retirement.
I really like that analogy because for sure the investment road is not always a smooth road. You do have your ups and downs, and I think when it comes to that downs, a lot of people want to get out of the market. But what we always say, it's time in the market. So rather work through those difficult 4x4 paths, because if you've got the right vehicle, obviously. How do the guarantees offered by these portfolios work, and in what scenarios do they provide the most value to our clients?
I think an important thing to realize is that smoothing on its own does not guarantee you a positive return. You actually need to pair that with providing capital guarantees. Now, we have a range of portfolios with different level of guarantees, from a full capital guarantee to others that just limits and loss. And, so depending on what the member needs, you can customize it for that. Now, the reason that we think that's important is especially during those crucial years or periods just before you retire, you actually need something that can give you a capital guarantee. And that's provided by an insurance company like Sanlam, who provides a guarantee on your amount you get at retirement or other events where you leave your retirement fund. So from our side, in our umbrella fund, none of our members received a negative return if they were invested in a smooth bonus portfolio, either when they were retiring in 2008 or retiring in 2020. And I remember in 2020 talking to a number of very nervous members who were about to retire at the end of March 2020, and they were all very relieved to be invested in this kind of portfolio. So where do you use it? Normally when you know you're close to leaving your fund. And in most cases, that is close to retirement, because retirement is a date that most people know quite in advance, and you can plan around that. You can argue that a young member who has a long investment horizon shouldn't be that worried about market crashes. They have a long enough time to recover, and they should be more aggressively invested over time. But definitely when you at your, I think, most vulnerable, when you now have your biggest pot of money saved up, and you're about to convert your pot of money in your retirement fund into an annuity, that's really when you need the protection provided by these kind of portfolios.
And added to that is the fact that people are living longer. So I think that is what makes you extra nervous. You need as much money as possible because you don't know how long you're going to live. But we'll touch later on the longevity issue. And Ashley, maybe you can elaborate on how responsible investing principles are integrated into the investment process for these portfolios. This is something that is really important for people these days.
Yeah, indeed. We firmly believe that as members, they should retire comfortably, but they shouldn't just retire comfortably, they should retire comfortably in sustainable environments. And as such, this smooth bonus portfolio, just like many other portfolios within our Sanlam stables, we embed environmental, social, and responsible governance factors into the investment process of these portfolios across all the different asset classes which they are invested in. And how do we do that? This really involves the ESG due diligence. It also involves active ownership through proxy voting on the different portfolio companies where we are invested in. And it also then involves us engaging in terms of engaging the different portfolio companies where we have got a seat in the table. But of course, if I were to break it down in terms of the different asset classes, just to bring it more context to it, is to say, for an example, if you're invested into equities, listed equities, be it local or offshore, there we use some ESG tools in terms of guiding us when it comes to proxy voting and governance practices. And when you look at it into more alternative private markets portfolios, there we embed what we call an ESG due diligence. For an example, if you're investing into a private company or providing a credit debt into a private company, we then look at what are the material ESG risks as we are about to invest into that company. In the case of multi-managed portfolios, we've got one of the smooth bonus that is multi-managed. What we do there is that we ensure that those managers, as we are selecting them and appointing them and continuously monitoring them, we also make sure that we identify if they're actually adhering into responsible investment practices in their investment processes. So that's really how ESG is integrated into these smooth bonus portfolios.
How do these portfolios align with advisors' goal of providing both financial stability and sustainable growth for clients?
Yeah, indeed. I mean, as Danie gave a classic example of, this 4x4 type of example in terms of the portfolios, how they're structured, we really appreciate the fact that, yes, as members are invested and investors are invested into this portfolio, they are going to experience this short-term volatility. But when we integrate ESG, it's more the long-term perspective. And by that, ours is to say we want to balance the financial stability with the sustainable growth. And how we do that is just to ensuring that the smoothing process that Danie applies with his team is really there for the short-term market volatility. But of course, from a long-term perspective, the ESG integration is identifying what are the material issues that different asset classes are exposed to over time, over a long-term perspective. And this really helps, the members to really understand what are the broader sustainability goals and, what are some of the responsible investment practices they should be aware of on the different portfolios that are there. And the classic examples would be to say, yes, the markets are going up and down, but within those different counters that are going up and down, you might find that there are material governance issues in those companies. We don't want to experience a Steinhoff 2.0 as an example. We also identify that some of these companies, they're exposed to, environmental and social related issues. And those are long-term issues. They don't just happen, overnight. Those are things that as, portfolio managers and analysts, they are interacting with the management of these different portfolio companies. They try to understand the strategy and how these companies are responding to that. And ours is to make sure that once we have the seat in the table, we engage on those material issues for the betterment of our members.
It's really great to hear the how, but a lot of people would love to hear the stories where the impact has really made a difference. So what are some of the ESG engagement success stories highlighted in the latest responsible investment report, and how do they translate into value for investors?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I think considering that this is our second report, how we have actually, come up with this report, the second installment of this report was as a function of how, the audience, which is the brokers, the members, and many other investors have come back to us to say, look, we appreciate how you're highlighting and elevating, the practical things. And one of the classic examples, as one will read the report, we'll come across Impala Platinum, as they call it, Implats. This is one of the mining companies situated in the Platinum Belt, particularly in the northwest. And over the past couple of years, Impala has been experiencing quite a lot of incidents, mining incidents and fatalities, which really affects, the health and safety of their employees. And by extension, it then affects their productivity. And that's one of the issues that we have identified that, within the ES and the G, that is very much within the S component of it. And we then engage Impala Platinum and say, look, we have considered that over the years, you guys have multiple fatalities, multiple incidences. This really affects you guys. And it's also going to be affecting the value creation within you guys as a company. And how you then are going to address that. And we then track them over the years to see, what steps have they put in place to ensure that they address these health and safety issues. And, another example which one will then actually get to understand, some of the value add to the members that we've created through our ESG engagement, it's ABSA. One will, know that in this day and age, the world of renewable energy investment has been on the rise, and there's been all these different programs that have come up. But we also appreciate the fact that banks are the one that provide the funding. And as they provide the funding, you also then need to understand what are some of the contributions that they've made. And we have actually looked into the report. If you look into the report, you would identify that, we've looked into what is ABSA doing in terms of them providing financing to these renewable energy projects. But that is more in terms of them providing from an environmental side of the ES and the G. But on the latter part of the ES and the G, one also appreciate the fact that ABSA has been, on the news for the wrong reasons when it comes to the governance side. They've changed CEOs. There's been a lot of issues happening at the board level. And we were very much intentional, engaging, ABSA as a company and the management and the board in terms of understanding what is the tenure of some of the board members, what is the intention in terms of building a solid governance team within their management control. And I'm sure you all might have seen, in terms of how of late, they sort of stabilized. And I think these are some of the classic examples which demonstrate the value add. These are just few examples. When you want to read the report, you will get to read and understand, some of the examples in more detail.
I think we'll make sure that we will link the report to this interview so that people can go and read more of the positive stories and where you are really making a difference. And for me, it's just great to hear the partnerships and the fact that we as an industry really have a good way of working together with other industries and companies, which is not necessarily directly related to what we do and how we do it. So it's really great to hear. Property is always a interesting debate that people have. So talk to me about how the Sanlam Property Impact Fund enhanced the impact of smooth bonus portfolios on local communities and underserved areas.
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I think as part of what we do within our different products, particularly on the smooth bonus portfolios, as I mentioned that we invest in different asset classes. However, property, as you clearly mentioned now, it has got quite a significant allocation within our smooth bonus portfolio. And there, we're not referring to listed properties, but we're referring to, actual properties, brick and mortar. And with the almost more than 6% allocation into direct property, we have got quite a significant allocation into what we call a Sanlam Property Impact Fund. And this is a portfolio, or rather a fund that it's more intentional in terms of achieving a specific impact outcomes. We have realized that, there's multiplier effect if you to look at, how people are affected from an affordable housing point of view, from schooling point of view, from clinics point of view, from townships, malls point of view. And as such, we have created this portfolio that invests in these 4 critical areas of the society. And the classic examples within, one of the examples within that portfolio is what we call township malls. So we've invested quite heavily onto township malls, but these are more rural township malls. We are not really, quite concentrated in the urban areas. An example there is what we call the Kwacha Mall. So if you know Kwacha, it's somewhere in Mpumalanga province. And there we built quite a huge township mall, which is very much like a catchment area for people that are residing within the township, but also the villages in and around it. But one thing that we are very much grateful for in terms of us providing the impacts and this measurable outcomes for the community is ensuring that within that mall, we are identifying that, more than 50% of the tenants that are there, they're actually small businesses from the community. So you literally walk into the mall. Inside the mall, you're finding a pharmacy, you're finding a small store, or some of the stores that are literally owned by local people. And this is one of the things that we believe, that we are not just providing, a township mall for people to come and spend their money, but we're also empowering the local people. We also have wholesalers within there, where people from the nearest community who, perhaps, have spaza shops in their area, they come and buy them. And the good part of it in this case is that we are generating financial returns within, this property impact fund, by extension into the smooth bonus portfolio. But there's also the social return aspect to it. And we are also ensuring that nothing is suffering at an expense of the other. We are not finding ourselves that, we don't getting the financial return, yet we're getting the social return. There's more of a balance. And these are some of the examples that when you go through the report, you actually get to understand how we're embedding the sustainability aspects and the impact aspect into the smooth bonus portfolio. And in this case, through the Sanlam Property Impact Fund.
Back one step in terms of the mall itself. I assume there goes a lot of research and a lot of looking at data into the process of deciding on where you put the mall and what you put into the mall, and a lot of community engagement. That must be quite an interesting process and quite a long process to make sure that you make it work for your investors, but also for the community, right?
Indeed. Yeah, there's a lot of work that is done. And, one of the things that really differentiates this property impact fund, this impact fund to many impact fund, is that this is very much data driven. We understand the demographic, we understand the people that are living in the area, we understand the special demarcation within the nearby communities and villages that are out there. And ours is to make sure that we also partner with the right developers. You'll appreciate the fact that property has been one of those sectors that has struggled quite a lot. And with partnering with the right developers, it really helped us to actually understand some of the dynamics within these communities.
Danie, maybe we can end with you. What resources or tools are available to our audience, the advisors, to help them explain the benefits of smooth bonus portfolios to their clients?
We have a wealth of collateral on our website. Just look at Sanlam Corporate. There's articles, there's newsletters, videos, all that explaining how these portfolios work and also when to use them. I emphasized earlier, especially for members close to retirement, and we highlight that in some other scenarios as well. And then don't forget, we do have our responsible investment report that Ashley mentioned. It's also available, and a video accompanying that on our website.
Danie, Ashley, thank you very much for your time. I really enjoyed the conversations. I would like to chat a little bit more about other things, but maybe we can set up some time for that, because I think the whole thing around longevity is a topic on its own. And then also something that we have touched on is people who don't start saving early enough. You think you have to start with big amounts of money, and that education, you can see that I focus a lot on the education element, but the education for people, doesn't matter what age, to say every little bit that you have, invest, because people just start too late with too little. Combined with that, we live forever. Let's set up a conversation at another time for that, but thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.